from the beginning, welcome everyone to this distributor panel with the Cicerone certification program. I'm Jen Blair. I'm the exam manager for the Cicerone certification program, and I'll be your moderator tonight. Thank you for joining us. Happy midweek of Black Women's History Week and happy first day of Women's History Month. I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves in just a moment. I wanted to let you all know we'll leave some room at the end for questions. So if you have any questions while we're chatting, feel free to put them in the comment box and we will get to them towards the end of the hour. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Kevin to let him introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what he does. So take it away, Kevin.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Ruckel. I am the brand manager for Breakthrough Nevada Beverage Beer Division. I've been in the industry for 22 years, started up in Alaska distributing in the warehouse, loading trucks. And then I came down to become a salesperson down here in Nevada. So I went from Alaska to Nevada, which was quite the change. When I got down here, I was a rep. I became a field sales manager. I was the sales manager of the off-premise division for 6.5 years. And then I moved into trade development. It was a new thing that had started off, which I'm a part of now. So our trade development department is sort of all of the mechanics behind the scenes so that we can leave our sales teams to sell. So we do all of the inventory and the pricing ahead of time, any kind of price promotions. We do the marketing pieces, the incentives, all of that we work out with our supplier partners. And then once we can bundle it all together and then make it available to our sales teams to sell. So it's been something we've been doing now for 11, 12 years now, and it's quite successful. So in that division, I am pricing and inventory. I am the guy that negotiates all pricing, talks inventories, talks SKU wrap, all of that kind of information. So I work very closely with with all of our beer supplier partners.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. Chris, what about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
I work for J.J. Taylor Distributing of Florida. We cover 17 counties in the state, and there are 4 of me in the state. The other 3 cover the other 16 counties. I represent Panelists County, which is a very densely populated county on the west coast of Florida, just west of Tampa. I'm the craft specialty and import account manager, and my role is very much a hybrid role. I bridge both on-premise and off-premise, working primarily with our on-premise sales teams and managing our local craft brands in Pinellas County, helping them get to market.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. I think we also neglected to say that Kevin is an advanced Cicerone. Chris is a certified Cicerone, and I will kick it off to our other certified Cicerone, Connor.
Thanks, Jen. So my name is Connor Taylor. I am the Director of Product Knowledge at United Distributors, which is the largest distributor in Georgia by volume and Alabama. So I've been doing that for 3 years. Confession, I was a wine guy at first, started out that way. And then 3 years ago, I took over our education program, and we started off with just certified specialists of wine. The first, maybe 15 years ago. I've been in the industry for about 15 years. And then since we've taken over, my VP that's also my boss has put together this plan to also include spirits and beer. So that's when we found Cicerone and have been very happy with it thus far.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us. And for those who may just be joining us, again, we'll do some questions at the end. So as you have your questions, please put those in the comments, and we'll definitely make sure we leave time for those. And, also put in the comments where you're tuning in from and maybe what you're drinking. I know I've got a double IPA that I made myself. And if I say so myself, it's very nice. We've got a few questions for all of you, but the first thing I wanted to do, because I know we'll have some of our Cicerone community joining from outside of the United States, is just really quickly give some context to distributors and where they fit into the beer industry in the United States. So in the United States, we have what's called a 3-tier system, and that's called as such because we have 3 tiers. So we have brewers and importers, we have wholesalers and distributors, and we have retailers. And the way it's set up is that each state controls their own alcohol regulation and administration. So for most states, the brewers and importers can sell to the wholesalers or distributors. The wholesalers and distributors then sell to the retailers, and the retailers then sell to the customers. And I will give some Gen Karma points for anybody who wants to pop into the comments and list off a couple of what those exceptions may be to the three-tier system in the United States. But this was created by the 21st Amendment that repealed prohibition and also instituted that state regulation rather than federal regulation over our alcohol system. So I wanted to give a little bit of context, not only about that, but also within each state, the distribution is the method by which the beer is going to get to the end user, to the consumer. And some states have franchise laws, which means that in order to sell alcohol to the public, you need to have an agreement with a distributor that's going to give the distributor an exclusive right to sell your brand within a certain territory. So we have our panelists tonight are from Nevada, Florida, and Georgia, and those are all franchise states. So in each one of these states, there's no option for like a craft brewer or a small craft producer to be able to self-distribute. In some other states, I previously lived in North Carolina, that had, if you were a small brewer, you could do some self-distribution up to a certain volume of beer. And then after that, you would be distributed through a distributor. But for purposes of us tonight, everyone who's here, we're all located in franchise states. So these gentlemen from these distributors, their distributor has the exclusive right to sell certain brands within a certain territory. So given all that, thank you, the three of you, for waiting patiently while I explain that. But I always like to give a little bit of context because we are a global program, and I know that I get kind of confused about the distribution systems in other countries as well. So I just wanted to give that really brief primer on where in this three-tier system we'll be talking about tonight. So with that, let's jump into some of our questions. And the first question I have, and I'll just do it kind of in the same order we did with the intro. So I'll start with Kevin. Tell me if your company provides ongoing beer education, and if so, what does that look like?
Well, for our internal people, our beer server is now handled through our online university. So we do have a program for all reps through all 16 states and Canada that can take prep courses for beer server. We're working on Cicerone level, but they're not there yet. So what we've been doing, me and Michael Shetler, who's our beer craft manager here in Nevada, for many years now, we have a program where we bring in customers, whether it be on-premise, bartenders, owners of liquor stores, you have it out there, food and beverage directors. We have our own internal people that take the class. And then we also have suppliers. A lot of suppliers will send their people to us as well. And it's a course designed to get you ready for the certified Cicerone. We do the whole 9 yards in terms of we do off flavors, we do everything else. And a big component of what we do is also brewing. So we have a little rack mount brew system where brewing your own beer is a part of it. And that's kind of one of the big thrilling parts of the class that we have. Everybody gets to sit down. We go break them into small groups, design the beer they want to do, and then come in on a weekend and brew it. And at the end, we all get to try each other's beers at kind of an end of class party, which is
nice.
Kind of cool. We've been doing that for a lot of years. We've had to pause it, unfortunately, with COVID. I've had a lot of questions about when I can start again. It looks like we're going to be able to start again this summer. So anybody from Nevada that's been waiting for it, we're going to be opening it up again. And we're really looking forward to it because it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's excellent news. And thank you, Kevin. We were, for the people at home, we were chatting ahead of time about some of these questions. And when Kevin said they've got this whole program and everybody gets to brew, kind of all of us, like our eyes were like, that's amazing. So thank you for sharing that. And Chris, tell us a little bit about your distributor's internal training programs and the role that you play in those.
Yeah, so we do have an internal training program that's really more in terms of developing managers and leadership skills. What I do out in the market is specific to accounts in terms of more focused on the beer server training. I do that pretty frequently where we'll get a group of 8 or 10 or 12 where it might be a couple bars together or a brewery that needs to train their team. And that's usually a 2-hour program that I do. And I have multiple decks of that where if I only have an hour or 30 minutes or 15 minutes, it's scaled down to the very basics just to kind of scratch the surface and get people interested in moving forward with it. but it's an ongoing thing that we do as regularly as there's demand for it. As he mentioned, it has definitely slowed down post-COVID, but it's there is discussions of it again. Less frequently, we'll do a certified course. We've done that only 2 or 3 times, and that's on my side. It's broken down into 6 2-hour sessions over multiple weeks. And one of the fun things that we do in that was a deconstructed beer dinner, where we had a chef bring out multiple different bite-sized dishes. We only had 4 beers at these, but it was more about learning about what is braising, what is baking, in all the different things that terminology and examples and how they interact with just a few different beer styles. Very eye-opening.
That's awesome. I love being able to do things like that, because you get all this theory and then to actually put it into practice. That's so valuable. So that's a really cool program that you do. And now I will open it up for Connor. Tell us about your internal beer education training programs.
Great. Yeah. Well, so internally, we of course have suppliers come in and present to us, and they, will lead education training and sessions, which are great. But of course, that's going to be very brand specific, because they're going to want to train you on their brands, which is great. But we found Cicerone, 3-4 years ago, because we wanted our reps to have a very broad, just kind of grasp on everything. So we offer certified beer server to pretty much anyone that sells beer, and we're kind of chipping away and trying to get everyone certified that way. And then we also offer certified Cicerone to our craft team, and then to our on-premise reps, any that might qualify and be ready. And then lastly, we also we have a podcast program that we've just introduced. So we have an internal podcast and external, and internally we'll break things down, do sales training and send that out to everyone in the company. And then our externally will be more brand specific to beers, or, we do wine and spirits as well.
Excellent. The podcast is a really cool idea. I like that a lot. So thank you all for sharing what you do. It's interesting to see so many different approaches. And I never would have thought about brewing a beer on site or having a podcast for your employees and your accounts. So those are all super cool ideas.
I'm stealing Kevin's beer. I'm stealing the deconstructed dinner from Chris. Sorry.
We can share notes.
Yeah, excellent. See, we're all learning, right? It's ongoing education for all of us. So with your beer education programs that you've done, wherever you have kind of started, however recently or however long they've been going on, how have you seen that education impacting your beer sales, impacting how you service your accounts? Hopefully it's been positive. So actually, Connor, I'm going to start with you this time, and we'll go counterclockwise.
Yeah, and it's one of these that my whole job really is sometimes it's hard to measure exactly in numbers, but we know that sales are improving and increasing. It's one of those, and I'll say anecdotally for me, doing my first big exam in 2012, the Certified Specialist of Wine. The biggest thing for me was it was an aha moment, right? For this industry, where it was a job and then it became a career. And it was one of these, oh, wow, I get the passion. I became more passionate about it. And so that's been our mission on our side, we have all these wonderful sales reps, and especially the younger ones that they're learning a lot. They're getting really good. We want to make sure we can provide the aha moment, which isn't necessarily so recordable or quantifiable, but we think we can see the difference in them and the way they sell. And, it does, sales do increase with more certifications. So that's our main philosophy, I think, at United, is let's get them from a job to a career through product knowledge education.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, that confidence in being able to walk in someplace and you're going to be able to field the questions that are asked, that really makes just such a difference in just being comfortable going out and, and selling people. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, next, let's go to Chris. Will you talk to us about the impact you've seen your training have in your accounts, or how you service your accounts?
Yeah, and I'll go back to Connor on this. You and I have a very similar background. I did retail before the distribution side. I was in that for just about 12 years. And I too had the certified specialist of wine and certified specialist of spirits. Those are both really great programs, and that gave me the confidence then to sell wine and spirits. And then I ventured into the beer side shortly before I left retail and started with the Cicerone program. And all three allow me to communicate with a number of different customers in different ways. It's sort of like being on the retail floor. You're dealing with new customers every 5 minutes. You're dealing with an expert in 1 minute, an amateur the next, somebody that's never even tasted a bottle of wine before. So you're constantly talking to new people on the regular, and it gives you skills to be able to evolve, sales techniques as you get exposed to other things. And out on the world today, selling beer with distribution, having that background with the wine really allows a little perspective, maybe at a wine bar, that isn't as beer centric as other beer bars would be. So it's nice to be able to bounce back and forth between those multiple languages, if you will. But yeah, as far as ongoing, it's you addressed it as well. I think a lot of what we do comes from our suppliers directly, and that's a pretty regular occurrence, whether it's through a morning training before we even get out in the market. Sometimes it's a happy hour at a brewery at the end of the day, but it's pretty regular in terms of new products that are coming out and how they're going to impact and what the plan is behind them. Keeps people excited.
Excellent. Yeah. And I love thinking about it of like talking in different languages. That's so important. I'm very much a beer person, and I've gotten my WSET level 1 in spirits, but I haven't really ventured into wine or anything yet. I'll conquer beer first and then get into some of the other channels. But it really is just it can be a completely different experience for each one of those categories. So I love the idea of explaining it about, being like linguistic, knowing 3 different languages so you can communicate with your accounts better. And so, Kevin, what about you? What kind of impact have you seen your beer education have, besides the really cool party everybody gets to drink each other's beer?
It's kind of twofold. And one, I kind of agree with Connor. And we've had a lot of our sales reps get interested. They're already interested in beer, and we were able to kind of elevate them to move on in their careers. A lot of them became our supplier reps and various craft suppliers and so on. And they started off in our program getting the certification to move on. And so it's a great thing for our employees to invest in them, to better themselves, to further their careers, whether that be with us or with the supplier. It's always been a great opportunity. Also, for the coming out of the COVID pause, we've kind of been a little remiss lately, but we're going to get back into doing the morning trainings and the evening trainings at the sales meetings, so that we can have our reps be prepared when they walk through the door with more than just a sales sheet. If they've tried the beer and you've tasted it with them, you've described it, what's in it, the hops that are involved, giving them the information so that they can actually go in and make a proper sales pitch from knowledge and not just read it off the sheet. So we are going to we're just gearing all this up again after the pause, and we will continue to do so. But I think it makes a more prepared sales force to go out and sell the products.
Right. And I think that's what you said is also so valuable about investing in your employees, framing it that way, because it's like, what's worse than investing in somebody and they leave is not investing in them and they stay. So that's, investing in your employees is always going to be a net win for everyone involved. So the next question I have for you all, and I think this will probably be more for Chris and Connor, because I know that we've got some alphabet soup in terms of our certifications on the call tonight. But for those of you who have your Wine Spirit Education Trust, the WSET, or your Society of Wine Educators, what was the value add for you to then pursue your Cicerone certification? And Chris, I'll start with you.
Well, my main desire in pursuing Cicerone, I was teaching classes at the time, and I found the wine consumer a lot more forgiving in terms of knowledge. If I messed something up, they understood and we rolled with it. But the beer customer, they got me every time. They knew, and so I knew I had to study. So I got a bunch of books and I started diving in deep, and I had to stay one step ahead of them. That was my main drive for that. And then I got as passionate about the beer as I was about the wine. And now I'm here 9 years later. I'm still, I'm on the beer side of the business and I love it. But yeah, it was really the thing. It was just kind of caught in a moment of, I don't know enough about this. And you never do, right? It's a constant process and constantly learning.
Right. Excellent. I've never known a beer person to have an opinion about beer. So that's a really interesting experience you had. So Connor, what about you? What was the value add for you and your team in pursuing your Cicerone certifications?
Sure. Well, so I always say relationships matter most, right? That's the most important thing for a sales rep. You can have a great relationship and know not as much and be fine. But once you become a great salesperson and you've got great relationships, the way you become a complete expert, in my opinion, is to have the ground level education that you get from these certifications. So once you're in the account and someone, mentions Centennial hops or whatnot, and if you don't have that information, if you don't have that knowledge, it can shake your confidence. It could hurt a potential sale. So just rounding yourself out as a great salesperson is why all of these certifications matter, in my opinion. It gives you a little bit more confidence. Your relationships are the most important thing, but then make yourself the best that you can be and arm yourself with all of the knowledge.
Excellent.
And I'd like to add to that too, that it's not always knowing everything, of course. It's being able to quickly access the information you don't know. And just in studying, you often have resources that you might not have memorized, but I know I have that book at home, or I know where that link is, and I can get that answer pretty quickly. And that builds trust too, admitting that you don't know the answer, but you'll find it pretty quick.
Yes, I agree. That's something when I'm training people, I always tell them, especially like customer facing, it is always okay to say, I'm not sure, but I'll find out. Because if you make something up and your customer knows you made it up, then you've lost that trust. But knowing that you know where to go for that information is such a benefit to have. So I want to switch gears a little bit from sort of talking about our certifications to putting the Cicerone program into action for distributors. So for all of you, does your company have a specific protocol for checking accounts or addressing quality issues at accounts, such as dirty draft lines? Anything like that has, where you're pulling in that Cicerone knowledge and putting that to work each day. So Kevin, I will start with you.
Yeah, we serviced all of our accounts for line cleaning. We do use a service to do that every 2 weeks. So any keg we have out there, we have proper lines. We have Alan Harding as our draft manager. He has a team of 6 people. But he has his guys on call for any issues anywhere in the market. We obviously take draft quality very seriously. It's very important to our customers, and it's very important to our suppliers. We invest a lot of money in it. It's important to us.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, I love the idea of having a draft manager. I think I haven't heard of that before, but I'm not as ingrained within the distributor world as some other people are. But that's really cool to have that. And Chris, what about you all?
Yeah, we have an in-house line cleaning service led by George Vega and his team. Only 4 or 5 years ago, I believe, we were outsourcing that. And the problem with that is by using a third party, you never know who was on vacation, or there might not be the same person in the account every time. And there wasn't as much accountability. And now you can look in the tablet and see, oh, it was this person last Thursday. I know they were here. We also have that sticker on the door. I can follow up with that person and see what's going on. And there's also, you have them in your phone. You can call them right away if there's an issue. There's often, hey, there's a leak. Can you go help me out real quick? If I can't get there in time, then they're there to get my back. So they can circle back in short order to fix a problem on the go. And I love that about the new system. It's very much an advantage in being in one of the states that allows us to do that, because my understanding is there are certain states where line cleaning cannot be provided by the distributor.
Yes, that's awesome. And Connor, how about you? What about United?
So we're a little bit of the both of you in that we have our own team, draft department. So an on-premise rep will, and sometimes an on-premise rep, of course, can troubleshoot and fix it, but they'll call in a work order basically with our draft team. Our draft team comes out, and half the time they can fix it, but the other half we outsource it. which is really great. I think we're one of the only ones. We might be the only one that really does it in Georgia, which is it's just nice to know that all of our beers, will be will be served properly in accounts. So it's kind of somewhere halfway in between.
Right. Okay. Very cool. Thank you. And just a reminder for anybody who may have joined us a little bit late, we will be leaving a few minutes for questions. And thank you, Arturo. I see that you have a question, and we will save that kind of towards the end. But if anyone else has any questions, please put those in the comments, and we will make sure that we get to them in just a few minutes. So shifting gears once again, let's just talk about the beer industry and what you're seeing, kind of the 30,000 foot view of what's happening. Tell me if you're seeing any specific styles trending in your area. Remembering that I said, if you said something other than IPA, I would be shocked. So, so this time, Chris, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Well, yes, hazy IPAs are still trending here. Florida is funny. If you look at any weather map on a daily basis, half the country or even 75% of the country is freezing cold, and we're always bright orange and red down here on our own little. That's sort of how the beer market works here too. There are things that might be trending across the country that we haven't even heard of yet, or vice versa. Kind of early on here, we led the way with a lot of fruited sours and some strange things like that, and we've really seen the market here mature in many ways. We have a lager-focused brewery now that is pumping out incredible lagers. And 5 years ago, if I were to tell you a craft lager wanted to go to market, well, we can try, and we'll see what's going to happen with it. But there wasn't as much demand for that, and premium is still holding strong here. We are a Yuengling distributor. That's a major beer that we sell. But to have a smaller local craft brand, and that's really what's in demand with a lot of independent accounts. But to have a lager-focused brewery be successful is a great sign of maturity here, I think.
Yeah, I agree. We have a couple of those in Atlanta, and it's been a refreshing, metaphorical and physical change to have those as options. And I agree with you. A few years ago, everybody would have said, "Oh, we can try, we can see." So, Kevin, how about you? What kinds of specific styles are you seeing trending in your area?
Well, Nevada is an interesting state in that it's very blue collar. People don't really realize that. They see the strip and they kind of see how big and beautiful it is and don't realize that we really are a blue collar state. And we're sandwiched between California and Arizona, which are two big craft meccas. We, however, are 20 years behind the times at any point in time. And so even though something is working in California and Arizona, it doesn't mean it's going to work here. 19.2s, for example, has been a really slow build. Even though it's on fire everywhere else, it's starting to pick up, and we're starting to see a little more traction other than a couple of core SKUs. We have noticed now recently the high octane IPAs are the ones that are kind of taking hold, whether people are trying to just get more bang for the buck or whatever it is. That is starting to grow. We have, of course, the hazies are big, but we got a lot of people asking for clean IPAs now because there's so many hazies. So they're asking for suggestions on those. And another big thing, local. We haven't got a huge local brewing scene here in Nevada, in Las Vegas, but it's grown, and there's some good quality beers made here. And a lot of people, Nevada born kind of thing. That's they want to try the local guys. So we're doing really well with the local brewers as well.
That's excellent. And then Connor, how about you? What kinds of styles are you seeing?
Right. And once again, I'm going to borrow from both of them because I think the local scene is great here in Atlanta and Georgia. And I'd say about 4 or 5 years ago, we had 3 taverns came out with the Prince of Pilsen, which was Pilsner with some more interesting or more, I guess, what would you say? Almost more ale style hops. And we've got a couple, just 2 or 3 really good lager breweries here in Atlanta. And I feel like at least the Atlanta market, it sounds a lot like what Chris was saying, where serious lagers that's the hottest thing right now for us, or a very much emerging, growing category in Georgia. And of course, hazies all over the place.
You don't say.
Yeah. But it's funny. So to Kevin's point, he mentioned high octane IPAs. I asked our general sales manager for beer, and he said, well, I think the guy that was drinking Hopsecutioner, which is a Terrapin 6.5%, 7% IPA, he said he thinks they're taking either a hard left or a hard right turn, either to lagers, better made lagers, or to high octane IPAs, and they're going one way or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I second that.
With lager for sure. See a lot more lager here, which is exciting.
Yeah, big bold flavors and light and delicate are doing well, but some of that middle ground has really lost a lot of it.
Right.
Right. Yeah, excellent point. So, Kevin, I'm going to pivot to you and ask you to talk a little bit about the SKU management and supplier relations and what you're seeing in the market.
Yeah, I mean, we all know innovation is going crazy. Everybody's coming out with innovation, whether it be the large or small brewers. And as a distributor, you only have so much warehouse space. But I think the big part of doing any kind of, we do SKU rationalization twice a year. And it's not something where we come in and with a big old hatchet and start chopping stuff off and making our suppliers angry and everything. When we talk to them, they're usually in agreement. The bottom line is we need to keep fresh product. We need to have turn enough so that product is going out with good dates for both. Because if a customer gets something that's less than fresh, it's not good for the brand. And they realize that. So depending on how many turns we're getting on the product, what the consumption is, minimum orders has something to do with it because I've got to be able to get through the product in an amount of time to, again, keep it fresh. But also we look at supplier focus. So even if something isn't doing well right now, but the supplier says, you know what, this is one of our big bets. This is really something that we want to go. Then yeah, we won't cut it. We'll actually just kind of double down our efforts to try to get the inventory or pulling through to help support the suppliers. And we also need to have the right kind of a mix of SKUs, a different mix of styles out there. So sometimes we will hold on to certain styles that perhaps aren't turning as well because we want to have a full catalog to offer our customers. So basically, it's a conversation with the supplier. And like I say, they're in the same boat as us. Freshness to the customer is really, really important. They agree with that. We agree with that. Our customers agree with that. And so that's really the driving force. And can't carry everything, so we do have to draw some line somewhere. And again, our supplier partners usually understand that, and we don't usually have issues in terms of that.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Chris or Connor, anything that you would like to add about that, about the supplier relations and SKU management?
Yeah, for us, it's a lot of, case by case basis where we might have a brewery that is doing really well in a particular beach location, but doesn't have a lot of exposure across the entire bay. There's value in maintaining those lines in those accounts. Is it a huge growth brand? Not necessarily. It's something that is pulling some great weight in this territory, and that's great for us. And everyone is a slightly different need and demand, and it's definitely case by case. We usually meet twice a year as well to kind of sit through and okay, what is really necessary right now. And the unique thing here in Florida is that we have reverse seasons. In the summertime, beer sales really plummet. So some styles we might get rid of for a couple months and bring them back later on in the cooler months when the rest of the world is shutting down. When it's snowing up north, that's when we're selling most of our beer down here.
I've never thought about that before, but that makes perfect sense. And Connor, what about you? Yes.
I think they both kind of covered it. It's all about a balance, right? If we only have so much, our warehouse is bursting from the seams. So if we want to add 3 new SKUs, we have to find 3 that are underperforming or under the threshold. And, we've got to make that decision. And it's, not against anybody, but, it's all about finding that balance. I think they said it perfectly.
All right. Well, we have got, unless anybody has anything they would like to follow up with and add, we have a couple of questions from the audience. And as a reminder, if you have any questions, please pop those in the comments so we can answer them. So this first question is for Connor. This is from Arturo, and he asks, how do you go about training the employees working within a liquor store in Georgia? That last customer connection is very valuable in the long term for stores, but more importantly for brands.
Ooh, that's a great question. And does he mean the liquor store employees that work for the liquor store?
Oh, I don't know. Let's find out. So Arturo, if you want to.
Or our sales reps that are calling on the liquor store.
How does it, so let me ask you while we're waiting for that clarification, how does that change your answer, I guess, or maybe just give us kind of the rundown of both?
In Georgia and with our distributor, it's a little tricky because we're one of the states where we cannot provide value to customers in a monetary way, or for instance, I can't, you said the liquor stores. Okay. So I unfortunately couldn't offer certified beer server to our customers from United. Now, some other distributors might do it, but we wouldn't because it's a violation in Georgia, the Georgia laws of the 3-tier system. It's providing a value. So it gets a little tricky now, but our sales reps and our craft team can go in and can educate. And also, for everyone not joining from Georgia, we also have very limited tasting in stores. We have a lot of antiquated laws on the books, so it gets really hairy. In the on-premise, for instance, we can do staff trainings. We can teach people about the beer and brand training in that way, and let them taste it. In liquor stores, it's a little more difficult. So I don't think I have the best answer for that. I apologize, but it's more like, let's go into the back room and talk about these beers and how to sell them. And I'll leave you guys some samples of beers and, drink them on your own.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chris or Kevin, do you have anything else to add about that, about maybe what you all do in terms of training the employees working within liquor stores?
Yeah, we're a very chain-driven state. Publix is a major retailer for us, Total Wine and ABC, they're major retailers. And, sometimes a brand might look at that as, well, I can't meet in the main office. I can't see the executives there. Yeah, you might not get that meeting. But even at the store level, there's an influence in terms of getting the staff on board with what you're doing. It might just be a relationship. Even if there's not a tasting involved, just seeing them on a regular basis and getting them excited about you being there really helps go a long way. Keeps you in their mind when they're talking with their customers. But of course, the tasting always helps too.
Yes, that will always help. And then Kevin, what about you?
Here in Nevada, obviously being an on-premise state, we do an awful lot of on-premise training, staff trainings. Our reps will do that go out to the accounts and conduct those. Michael Shetler, our craft manager, will go out and conduct those. But we do those fairly extensively, especially when new accounts are opening up for training of the staff. We're very, very involved in that piece.
Excellent. Thank you. And Chris, this next question I'm going to kick off with you. Do you think a wholesaler should have a portal service for accounts, such as where they do their ordering and pick what they want and their quantity?
Yeah, we have a system like that in place here, and it really evolved from our inside sales division. There are a lot of accounts that might order a small quantity on a regular basis. And so inside sales takes care of that rather than a person walking in the building. And that evolved into our online portal, which really gives a lot of access to information. It's not just a phone call anymore. It's access to the entire inventory. It's the ability to see previous invoices that have come through. It's a great inventory management tool on top of a sales tool. There's still that personal touch too. We try to see all those accounts when we can, but it's an advantage to the customer to be able to see that here, because you might only order the same 3 or 4 items a week, but there's 2,000 more sitting here on that list that you can review.
All right. Kevin, how about you? How do you do you all have a service portal for your accounts, and how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, we are part of Provi. We do order taking through Provi. We have our own system, Breakthrough Now, which is already in 6 states. It's going to be launching in the other states here this year. We're going to be launching tentatively, I believe, June 1st here in Nevada. And it does allow our customers to place orders. The reps see the orders, they verify and put through. This is not something meant to replace salespeople. It frees up the salespeople to sell, and it also allows you to use the electronic platform to make suggestions. And we have found that people that have switched over to our online platform have actually increased sales. So they've been working on this system for a very long time. We've got all the bugs worked out, and it's a very robust system. Again, we will be live with Breakthrough now across the country, all 16 states, by the end of the year.
All right, thank you. And then Connor, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Sure. Yeah, we're in the same boat as Kevin with DSD Link Pro V, which gives our reps that they love it. We love it because it gives them more time to be consultative salespeople versus spending 60, 70, 80% of their day billing. So we are huge fans of it.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you all for that. I have another question for you. This is from Anastasia in Southwest Virginia. So Anastasia, thank you for asking this, because this really ties in what we were talking about earlier. And it's something as somebody who buys beer that's always kind of top of mind for me. So Anastasia says, we are a medium-sized bottle shop in Southwest Virginia with a lot of educated beer drinkers that check date codes. We implement a rule at check-in for IPAs. If it's older than 60 days, we reject it. I have a lot of guests who are looking for beer that I can never seem to find in date because it isn't as popular as an item. How do you think we can help with this issue? And let's see, Connor, I will open it up with you.
And I actually might punt. It sounds like it might be just because I don't deal with the ordering. It seems like perhaps a threshold. Yeah, I'm going to let Kevin or Chris.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I can start here. One, if that product is consistently shipping 60 days out, why is the product there? There could be a larger issue involved. But we have a system in place where beer that's within 30 days is not supposed to leave the warehouse. Now, any system designed by people, run by people, is going to be fallible, and mistakes happen. So I do get those calls occasionally. They're rare, but it does happen where something's 30 days out, and we got to go do something about it. But yeah, that's where the SKU management comes in, right? It's unfortunate, and some items don't sell as well as they used to. Might be a legacy item that's been around for a long time that doesn't have quite the demand that it used to. But it really comes down to inventory management and the brand relationship between the distributor and the brewery, and how much is being ordered on a regular basis, and the rotation in the warehouse. And there's so many factors involved in that. I wish there was an easy answer to it, but there's a lot of steps involved.
All right, thank you, Chris. Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, it's just like we talked about, and that's why you have SKU rationalizations. There's a lot of restrictions that we have when we're ordering from a supplier, whether it be minimum orders. Is it a layer? Is it a pallet? Do I have to put together a 6-pallet order for them to ship it to us? So we balance that off with days of supply, and we want to keep our days of supply to the point where we don't run out, but at the same time, we don't run into shelf life issues. And we will judge that also on the shelf life that we have on the product, because certain products, just because it's hop-based, there's some that are more stable than others. The shelf life that we get from the suppliers varies. It can be 90 days, it could be 150 days on an IPA. And it's something where they've done their tests on it to determine that they feel that that's where the flavor starts to deteriorate. So that plays into it as well in the shelf life. We do our best to balance it. That's why we have SKU rat. If we get to a point where we're sending out beer that is got less than 30 days of shelf life on it, then it's probably one of the ones that we need to have the talk with the supplier.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Barry, who's moderating this for us, or moderating behind the scenes for us, has also added that, that's where that direct relationship with supplier reps is really important to have with those accounts, to have those open lines of communication. So I'm not seeing any more questions in our comments. So if there's anything that the three of you would like to add as kind of a closing thing, I would say here's a question that we didn't talk about ahead of time, but I'll just throw it out to the group. What is something for each of you that you wish the public knew more about distributors? And Kevin, I will start with you.
We are the local experts, and a lot of the time when people say, well, why can't we cut out the middleman? And as a distributor, we don't own the brands. Okay, we don't brew the beer. But we have a very vested interest in making sure that our suppliers are taken care of and are handled in the right way. And we can really direct them to sending the products into the proper place. We have the overhead, we have the refrigeration, we have the trucks, we have the sales force, the merchandisers, the dock workers. We have all of the pieces in place that are really something that's a big value add to a supplier. And most suppliers do realize that, absolutely. And they take full advantage of us, which is exactly what we want and need. We are not just the middleman. We are a large value add in the entire process.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. Chris, what about you?
Well said. I'd echo the same thing. I don't know how to add better. It is a value add in that we say the right beer at the right account. And I love all of our suppliers' beers, but not every beer is perfect for every account. And so we come in with that honest approach of, yes, I'd like to work with you on this brand, but I think brand B from them is going to be better for you than brand A. And that brand might not see it the same way, right? But we're here to get some volume and build relationships and trust. And that's something we do really well.
Excellent. Thank you. Connor, how about you?
Well said, the both these gentlemen, but I'd also, just say that we're a marketing partner team, right? We're brand builders. And if you think of the analogy of let's say a small brewer in Idaho that doesn't have the resources to have a national sales team going out into the streets in the Southeast or certain parts of the country, that's a way to kind of think of distributors as not just the middleman. We are your, on the ground sales force and marketers, and we're helping you build this brand that, we believe in because we took it on and we want to make money together.
Excellent. Thank you. And it looks like we've got a few more questions that rolled in really quickly. So I will throw this out to the group. This is from Jennifer, and she says, as an operator, I have the hardest time getting suppliers to provide a key to their date codes. Is there a general resource you would recommend for that?
Great question.
Yeah, I'm like, is there a general resource?
Yeah.
Not to my knowledge.
You're pretty much it's supplier by supplier. Some of them are easy to read, as we know. A lot of them use what's called a Julian date. And then we have some suppliers that use a lot code. So unless you know what the lot number is, when it came out, we don't even know really, other than usually those are cellar beers or something like that, where we know they're good for 2 years or something. So we kind of set the date. We still lot code them. We set a date of, whatever their shelf life is from when we receive it, minus a little bit. But unfortunately, there's no real central resource that I know of that's got all code dates. If you reach out to your salesman, they can reach out to us and we can find out for you as best we can.
That goes back to, I might not know the answer right now, but I'll get the answer really good.
Right.
Exactly. I can get it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, excellent. So my next question for you all is from Anastasia, and this is, my non-alcoholic sales have gone up 160% in the last year. Do you see them making it into keg anytime soon? I get a lot of requests for cap.
Yeah, well, we distribute a local kombucha, and it's not universal. Not every place is going to want to put kombucha on tap, but those that do, it's great for me because walk into that account at 11 a.m. They want to offer you something. It's how I get away with, yes, I'll drink something with you. As far as some of the other larger, like Athletic and some of the other brands that are putting out NA, I'd personally love to see it. I don't know where the demand is yet. We're moving NA products at definitely an increasing rate, but I'd kind of put that in the same category as like a sour. There's a lot of chatter about sours, and you have a 12 tap house that wants to put 2 sours on, and is it really going to be the best mover for you? It really depends by location, right? So I don't know if the demand is there entirely yet, but I think we're getting closer to it, and I think we could see it soon.
And I do think.
Sorry.
I was just saying. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, BrewDog does have alcohol-free in keg.
And I was just going to add to tell your sales rep again to kick that up to their managers, because that you get enough requests like that. That's something people definitely pay attention to. And then, okay, we've had several, bars reach out for that. Let's try one out. So it does make a difference, I think.
Okay, thank you. So we've got our final 3 questions here. The next one is from Michael, and Michael asks, what do you think of small independent distributors taking shelf space from large distributors?
Well, for us, we're a franchise state, as you mentioned, and once a brewery signs a contract, they say it's for life, right? But the reality is, brands do move around. There are trades, and people are able to exit contracts occasionally. But it's a small distributor allows access to a smaller brewery that might be too small for us. It gives a chance for them to sell out in the market, and there are a number of them in my territory that I work with that we get along with pretty well. It's I still say right beer, right account, right? And we definitely look at a volume play. So I'm happy to see those lines out there, and as long as I'm still getting the volume I need, let's play together.
I agree. I think there's kind of room for everybody, and that wouldn't bother me. Our company has a lot of big brands and a lot of great craft beers, so it wouldn't bother me. I just think there's a way to incorporate. I think there's room for everybody.
Right.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. There's just some of the smaller brands that are logistically difficult for us, and it's good that the smaller distributors are there to provide those. We want to make sure that all beer gets a bigger share of mouth, and the best way to do that is to have good selection.
All right, agreed. Thank you. So our last 2 questions are just kind of directly in line with what we were just talking about. So Jason would like to know what you recommend for a small brewery trying to get in with a distributor.
Well, what are the goals, right?
Yeah.
If sales are lagging and you're looking for distribution to bring you forward, it's probably not the right move. If there is demand for the brand and you can't keep up with production, maybe we need to relieve the pressure out of the brew house by getting it out into the market. There's a lot of different reasons why a brewery would want to go into distribution or not into distribution. But I think in a very early stage, one of the main goals that we have is to drive business back to the brewery. And if we can use the distribution as a marketing tool to drive back where their product is most profitable and help them move forward, that's a great step in the direction that can carry them to the next level.
Very good. Let's see. So we've got Kevin, Connor, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, we get this a lot with some small brewers that come in. For us, we're a chain market, and with chains, sometimes we can put in submission to chains, but sometimes they also have to come from the supplier. So there is a little bit of groundwork that has to happen from them. They need to come to us with some kind of a plan. We need to work together on it. We definitely want to be a part of it. We're a part of the brand building process, but there's certain things on the supplier side that we just can't do. There's certain chains that won't listen to us, but they need to have the supplier approach. So kind of, in order to kind of really get our interest, we need to get at a certain level of sales at some point, right? We'll invest our time, we'll invest our money, we'll invest our people behind brands. But again, they've got to come with a little something to help us to build, give us something to build on.
Right. And Connor, anything you'd like to add?
I would only add, just be ready to talk about a unique selling position and do a little research beforehand on what maybe that distributor would need. If you can find, okay, they don't have this niche, this is our strong suit, because that's what, I'm not in a lot of those decisions, but that's the mentality is what do we need? Who do we want to represent? That type of thing. So do the research and then, go through a sales rep and, try to make a connection.
Right. Excellent advice. Know your audience.
Yeah.
All right. So our final question is from Alejandro, and he would like to know, how often do you all gain or lose suppliers? He says, I know with franchise states, most suppliers have maintained a long relationship and they have a good contract with the wholesaler. So Connor, let me start with you.
Sure. In Georgia, it's not really topsy-turvy. Like you said, it's a franchise state, and we even have a law, I believe, that if you were unhappy with the distributor and you wanted to move distributors, I think you'd have to pull yourself completely out of the market for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
But of course, no one wants that. The distributor doesn't want that. The brewer doesn't want that. The supplier. So, for the most part, people try to make things work. So it doesn't happen as much as maybe in other states. And if it does, it's usually a trade for a better fit to that's maybe just me being an optimist, but I feel like most trades, both parties seem happy in my experience.
Right. So Kevin, what about you?
We are a franchise state, so we don't move around a lot. Sometimes there will be trades. Again, we have brands that want to get together under in the same house, or if we have underperforming brands, we will sometimes part ways. And unfortunately, it's just like with SKU rat, it's something that you have to do. But generally, that only happens after we've exhausted every effort we can to build the brand. But not a lot, maybe a handful every year.
Okay. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, same. I don't have an exact number, of course, but relationships are the most important part. And if, I'd like to think we get along with just about everybody, but sometimes things just don't work out, and we don't want to hold anybody back. And so there are definitely moments where a trade is going to be in the best interest for everybody. So yes, we're a franchise state, but there are opportunities there when the need is there.
Right. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you all for sharing that. And we will wrap it up. I will thank Kevin, Chris, and Connor for sharing their knowledge with us tonight, and thank everyone who has tuned in. I know I learned a lot. I really appreciate you all taking time out of your day, not only to be panelists on here, but for our audience taking time out to watch this and learn a little bit more about distribution in the United States. So with that, I will say, make sure for updates, you will make sure to follow Cicerone on YouTube, on all the socials, all of the things. You can follow us there to learn about more upcoming events. And we will have this, we're live on Facebook and YouTube now, but this will be edited and put up on YouTube as a living panel for all of time in just a little bit. So you'll be able to find it there. And thank you once again, all three of you, for joining us tonight. And thank you for everyone who was watching. Have a good night.
Thanks, Jen.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.